Hello, nice people. How you doing, guys? I've caught the nub fever. The thing about these things. What are they? What's going on? It's driving me mental. And this fellow on Twitter, the Stone Nub language, he tells me that he thinks it's a language. So follow him on Twitter. Currently, they're looking at and him and a few others, ancient history criticisms. A fellow called Rob, another one called Ancient Alternative View. They've found thousands of these nubs, and they're saying, it seems to be a language. It seems to be many different things. I'm having a little bit of chat to them, and I'm just trying to work out what it is. When boom, I'm starting to find information on what it is. So in this video, we're going to prove the code, the Rosetta Stone for deciphering the nubs. Okay, and we're going to show you smoking guns. Now, I've asked Stone Nub Language if I can use these in a video. He hasn't replied yet, so I'm going to use them anyway. And if he doesn't like it, that's his fault. That's not my fault. That's his fault. He should have replied within 5 seconds. So basically, he's found that there's round nubs, and then there's these, which are shaped like an Egyptian cake, letter T, which is quite interesting. And he's also found a code. They seem to be arranged like this. So that's it for Stone Nub Language. So what's the video about, and how have we tried to analyze the nubs and see what's going on? So here we have a basic European castle, and these are called put log holes because you put logs in them when you're building the castle for a bit of scaffolding or whatever. And now they've put some vents in them. And the difference between the put log holes and what's going on in America is in America you have ups and downs, and this is the clue, isn't it? It's up, it's 1 down, 2 up, 3 in the middle, 2 up, something's down there, maybe they've been rubbed out. That's a clue. Here again, 2 up, 3 down, what's happening? It moves down there. And if you can do all these precisely, absolutely precisely, why wouldn't you arrange them however you wanted them to be? And why wouldn't you put a language in there, or even this could be musical notation, as we will show. We're going to show you what the language is. And I'm pretty certain what the language is, or what it was, or we're going to have a look. It's quite interesting. So that is musical notation. And you may recognize this if you play an instrument. Many people do. You will notice all the squiggles. And it's on a staff like the Irish Ogham writing. There are 150 Irish Ogham alphabets. I learned that today. And this is a new proposed musical notation. Does it look familiar to you? Does it look like some of the Inca stones? And I recently learned about a place called Quaylap, and I looked up the Brian Forster video on this. It's literally the secret world. It's literally the lost plateau of Conan Doyle. Huge wall, cliff face, maybe dinosaurs on top. What's going on? It looks like Zimbabwe as well. What is going on? And when I saw this, when I saw Quaylap, I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely gobsmacked. So I made a tweet here in which I said, look, this is Quaylap, and you'll see there are two, whatever they are, and that's something I photographed at Glendalough, Ireland. So you have the head, and then the tail meeting another tail, going to the head there. Head, tail, curling, meeting another tail. Quite similar. And when I saw that, I said, well, that's probably more Machu Picchu. It looks like Irish ruins. In the Brian Forster video on this, he said it's very unusual for there to be round buildings. Round buildings, as we know, are totally ancient UK. Not even on the continent. Continent have long buildings. You have round buildings on typically the ancient UK, and also the American Indians, obviously, teepees. And when I saw this, I just couldn't believe it. This is basically a very typical European Dark Age motif in Western Europe. Very, very typical. You see this all around Dark Ages Europe. A bit of this as well in Dark Age churches. This is a European motif from churches of the Dark Ages. Again at Quaylap in Peru. And that looks like a miniature round tower, very interesting. I was also very taken by the fact that around the base of these round buildings you have flat stones, even sticking up out of the ground, flat stones on a base. And that is very much like a round tower in Ireland. It is so similar to a round tower in Ireland. They have the same setup. It's incredible. When I saw that, which is also like a round tower in Ireland, I asked someone on Twitter because they brought this up, and I said, "Oh, Ireland, where's that from?" And they said, "Oh no, it's Peru." And I said, "What?" And then I started looking into this Quaylap, and I thought, "Oh my goodness." Fascinating. By the way, there are the log holes to help build it. European style technique of building. And you're going to say, "Prove it, Charlie." Well, there's some more Quaylap. No, it's not. That's a photo I took in Ireland, in Glendalough. Apparently a Christian building. They say it's a Christian building, early monks. A few years ago they said it's 19th century. They carbon dated it. It's a folly of a landowner. I don't believe that, and I don't believe the Christian building idea either. I think might have been some treasure hunters in the 19th century dug it up and then put it back to not annoy the fairies. And that's an Irish round tower, and you see what I was talking about, the base stones there around the edge, like you see at Quaylap. Now, in Ireland, you do not see as spectacular structures as you do in the Inca world. Why? I think the reason is Ireland is flat and green. The mountains are little pimples, as they call them. They don't really have that source of rock that you do in a hugely mountainous region like Peru. And we're going to start to get to the smoking gun. And I'm very happy to introduce in Lebor Ogham, the Book of Ogham's. And this is fascinating. I see that there are, in this book, which dates from the 1700s, and our copy dates from the 1100s, it says here, "O splendid famous judging near, if you treat of pure Ogham, I can name straight off in rapid words every unfamiliar variation of Ogham, of which you inquire in fitting questions, for you are a multi-skilled luminary of thrice 50 varied Oghams set at the time of primary study. There are 150 ancient Irish alphabets, and do you see this as a problem for us? Because we only have a few Ogham inscriptions, and they're mainly done in one type of alphabet. There are 150 according to this ancient book, which shows us people like to write, but they don't call it the Dark Ages for nothing. There is a tremendous lost body of knowledge. Unbelievable information. There's a wheel of Ogham, unbelievable lost information. All the different Ogham alphabets. We're going to look at a higher res version of this, and I'm going to show you a few smoking guns which can give us clues as to how to read the Ogham script in the ancient NUBs. Bear in mind, I made a video before about how the Quipu and the NUBs are the same language. I thought I came up with that at the time. I didn't. It looks like at least one person has thought of that before. You can see that on their version of that on the Omniglot website. They're showing the Irish Ogham and the Inca Quipu. Very, very similar. So why not the NUBs as well? Since the Viracocha, the redhead people, supposedly Quaylap was built by redhead blondes from across the water. Where else are we going to look but Ireland or Scandinavia, the Vikings? So what we're going to do now is have a look at some high-res versions from the book. I hope to convince you, but whether or not you're convinced, that's up to you. I'm convinced. We'll see what you think. So this is so fascinating. So when we go, let's go to like 169, and on 169 on the recto face. So there's recto and verso in manuscripts. Now this is a high-res version, and straight away. I want to introduce to you that these look like alchemy symbols, and they also look a lot like, well, musical notation. These are treble, almost like treble clefs and bass clefs facing two different directions. Very fascinating. We'll see some. These look like musical notes, and of course, medieval education, music, and arts and science goes together. Music is a part of the universe. This is their world of music in language, but this ain't music, this is letters. Isn't that interesting? And this is the origin of our musical notation as well, possibly from ancient Ireland. Over here we have stone-like changes in the elevation of stones, possibly if stonework, if that is what it represents. I don't know what it represents. This seems to be half written in Irish, half written in Latin to me, but I could be wrong. It's one of the oldest vernacular documents, which means it's written in a non-Latin language. A long time ago I made a video saying these are the bevels that we see at Tiwanaku, and that is a type of script. And we're going to see some really interesting things. So now I'm going to take us to 87R, and at 87 recto, what we have is a, let's go to it right now. We seem to have, and this is quite interesting, we seem to have an inverted pyramid, which is quite interesting, a block of stones in the shape of a pyramid. And I thought, well, that is quite weird. If that is what it is, I don't know what it is, but that is quite strange. Let us go to 170R, which is the main tract of the Irish Ogham alphabet. So 170R, 170, let's go to it, 170R, and this is, there we go. So this is absolutely fascinating. We have different, this is what I've shown you. And we basically have an up-down notation in Ogham. This is how the language works. We can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 on down, 1, 2, 3, or 4 up. And isn't this what we see in the stonework? We see dots down or up. But I haven't even got into the smoking guns yet. I'm going to show you the smoking guns. Let's go to 170. Let's go to 170 verso. And here we're going to show you a smoking gun. So this is a page they don't show on Wikipedia. And down here we have whether the writing is up or down, and then it's followed by dots, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And that is kind of what we see in the NUBS. We see 1, 2, 3, or 4 dots, whether they're up or down, whether you're going up or down in the writing. And bear in mind, of course, treble clefs, bass clefs, it can be music. Perhaps it can be sung. Maybe all of this notation is designed to be musical as well. And this is the origin of the medieval education, which was based around music. Music was their relativity theory. Music was how planets worked, how solar system worked. Just fascinating. But that is not even the smoking gun. I haven't got to the smoking gun yet. So if that convinces you, good. But you know, there's more stuff. Let's go to 169. 169 verso. I've written that down. No, that's the one we just saw. Let's go to the other one. There we go. Okay, so here is something very interesting. It's almost like pure. I just wanted to show you this. It's like pure musical notation almost. It's so strange. It's so weird. But these are all the different types. Each line is like a different type of Ogham alphabet. All the different variations that you see. Just so fascinating. There's a weird thing that hasn't made modern music. But that's not the smoking gun. Where the hell is the smoking gun? It seems to be 100. I found it. The smoking gun. So here we go. So here we have, now I don't know what this is, and I can't read this, but what it seems is, this is it a wall? Is it a border of a book? It's a way of representing letters on something. And we see what we saw at Caleb, the triangles, the diamonds, dots like at Olante Tambo, vertical dots. Here we see squares, here we see that funny-looking Egyptian, perhaps nub that we saw. Circular nub, square nub, a hand. Here we see symbols that look like alchemy symbols. This is absolutely incredible. And here, these are definitely prototypes of alchemy symbols up here. These are literally alchemy symbols. So these druids who came up with this, and then they became Christian, and they passed the knowledge on to the early Christians. These people recorded everything. Even the dragons. The dragons honestly remind me of the dragons on the pyramid of Kukulkan. They're so similar and so interesting. And now, if you're not convinced, here is something very interesting. So what's happening is this thing here, the Oricept, where we got this from, information about the NUBS. This is made up of different books, and the first book is written by a fellow called Phineas Farsai. And if he's familiar, it's because I mentioned him in an earlier video. He came up with the Irish alphabet, and which he found in the ruins of the Tower of Babel. And how did he find this in the ruins of the Tower of Babel? It seems the building materials of the Tower of Babel were composed of essences of Irish speech, or the Irish alphabet. So others affirm that in the tower there were only 9 materials, and these were clay, water, wool, blood, wood, lime, pitch, linen, bitumen. These represent noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, particle, conjunction, preposition, interjection. So in the building materials, in the form of the building, you have the speech. So I'm pausing there for drama. If that's not lining up light bulbs, you see, that is so fascinating. That is just so interesting. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I believe the Ogham language is the same language as that of the Incas, and what you do is, this is left-handed or right-handed, basically. Yeah. And just to finish it off, guys, here we have in the same book a dragon coming from heaven and then lying flat. Look at him there with that cheeky grin. And now look at this Mayan pyramid coming from heaven and lying flat. Such a similar type of symbolism. It's just really quite incredible, isn't it? Just incredible. Okay guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and tell me all about it, and yeah. That's, there's so many smoking guns. Yeah.